There's got to be a better way than the way we've been doing it. Up until this point, since I've been on the board, well before I was ever on the board, to my knowledge, has no way right now of controlling the adoption of textbooks. And the legislature apparently considers it important enough that the board have control over textbooks that we are required to approve or disapprove. And yet there are hundreds of books that we can't possibly go through. And we adopt books without having any idea of what we're adopting. And what I would like to see us do is develop guidelines that would spell out what we expect in a specific series of books. What do we want in our language arts program? What do we want in our science studies or social studies program? What are our goals and objectives? And then when we have these guidelines, the books would be adopted or would be selected by our committee within relationship to what we have spelled out that we want. And then when they come back to us, we will at least have some idea of what they are supposed to contain.
You think it's fair that this group should be protesting your actions on the board by boycotting your stores?
Well, no, I don't. But however, that's their constitutional right, and I'll defend their right to do so. Even though I certainly don't agree with them.
Do you think this would have an impact on other businessmen who might be thinking of running for office and then find their businesses boycotted because of the actions in fulfilling their public duty?
It certainly couldn't be encouraging to them, Jim.
Do you intend to quit the board because of this?
No, sir.
Have you talked to any of these people?
To
the people who belong to the American Parents Association?
No, I haven't been contacted by any of these people.
Have you asked that they remove their pickets from the stores?
No, sir, I have not.
You don't have any intention of doing that?
No, sir, I do not.
We'll be opening on Tuesday, September the 3rd. We've hired our teachers. We have about 110 students enrolled and have purchased our textbooks, and so we're pretty well underway.
What kind of textbooks do you have?
That's a big question.
Approach for everyone who is not agreeable to the textbooks now in the public schools.
Well, I need to mention this. Our school didn't start because of the textbook issue. I moved back here in February from Miami, Florida, where my daughter attended a private Christian school for the last 4.5 years. When I put her in school, I noticed that her moral values began to go down, her discipline was going down, she didn't bring homework home, and I become upset. We're using some of the textbooks that's used in the public schools, the basic textbooks, history books, algebra books, math books. Some of our reading books are a little different. We have some books that are written by Christian publications out of Pensacola, Florida. We'll also be using the open court reading program, which is also approved and on the state approved list.
There's one other book I assume you'll have.
Yes, sir. We'll definitely have the Bible. The Bible will be the main textbook. Each child will have to have a Bible, King James version of the Bible, to carry with them to class.
What grade levels will you be teaching?
We'll have the kindergarten through the 11th grade. The only reason we don't have a 12th grade is because we haven't had any students to apply this year. Now next year we'll promote our 11th grade on up to the 12th grade. I think next year we'll have close to 1,000, maybe even 2,000 when we get our building built.
I am comfortable perhaps even sanguine, that ultimately in West Virginia there will be a negotiation statute for the teachers. They will have the right to collectively negotiate or collectively bargain or call it what you will. It's a question of when, not whether. As those statutes have their influence, we have more conflicts than we ought to have. So there will be increased number of strikes in those states as the teachers press for better statutes. Our experience in a state like Michigan, where there has been a negotiation statute for 10 years, is that there is an increase in the level of confrontation for a 2 or 3 year period and then a decline. For example, this year in Michigan, with 600 local school districts, we are anticipating fewer than 25 strikes. That means 575 districts where teachers and school boards will come to agreement without a strike. And that seems to be the pattern across the country, that the increased conflict is short-term. The long-term prediction of a good statute is more order in the relationship, more maturity as the parties address the process, and less conflict.
My phone calls and the phone calls here in the offices have been running, I'll say 9 to 1 right now, from parents saying, please, please do something. I have to get my child in school. My child needs an education. Now, these people have their concerns about our textbooks, and we're more than happy to talk to them about them. But you can't talk to anyone when a mob is ruling. There's no way. I think there's been much misinformation placed out around the county, and good parents, parents who are interested in education and all, are concerned, and I would be concerned also. But the tapes that are being circulated, the fact that many of our senior high supplementary books are being quoted as being used at the elementary level, this is ridiculous. This is people talking without reason. I think we're well, I think this is foolish. Comments like these books have never been adopted anywhere else. There are places in West Virginia where these books are being used right now. They talk about Texas threw them out. Many of our basic books have been adopted by the state of Texas. These are reputable publishers. D.C. Heath, Scott Forsman, these people have been in the business for years and years. And I think also the people here in Kanawha County should put a little bit of faith in their teachers. But people are afraid to send their kids to school. I've never anywhere been in my life where I've seen fear run rampant as rampant as it is right here, right now. And I think this is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen in my life.
Any time that a situation like we've been having this week comes up, that they are as much aware of the problem as I am. Now, our boys have been out all week, night and day, on this school boycott, and I sincerely feel that it really is not my duty to call the state police. I feel that they can see the need as well as I can.
We were granted an interview in which we didn't think would happen this way, and we're thankful. We thank you, Dr. Underwood, for letting us see you this morning. We've got to go talk to the people that's on this. So you trust in us, will you? Because we have to work together, and we won't do anything unless you know about it. If we decide something, it'll come on the TV, and you'll know about it. We want the people to know, and we want you to be able to accept.
All books of the language arts adoptions will be submitted for review to a committee appointed by the Board of Education and representative of a cross-section of the community.
Now, I ask you people to be quiet until she finishes talking. Now, there has got to be some guidelines to go by on this thing.
Wait, I'm not through. All the supplementary text, plus the Galaxy series and the DC Heat series, will be removed from the classrooms during this review period. Wait, and let me finish. Believe me, the books that have been on the handbills, all that you've seen printed on the handbill, all of those books are coming out. Now, this committee, and there will be you'll have representation on that committee. I promise you it will be a well-balanced committee, and you'll have your fair hearing. This committee will be requested by the board to complete its assignment within 30 days. But if it can't be completed within this time, they can request an extension. As long as the committee is in the process of making a final decision, these books will stay out of the classroom. We have accomplished more than I ever thought we would accomplish. There will be 3 new board members on the board in January. You can't change things overnight. This isn't an adoption. If we took out every book right now on this year's adoption, that wouldn't change the direction of public education. We'll only change the things here by adopting guidelines. This kind of thing is going to take us a while. But I think this is the best we can expect.
Keith, what started this whole thing today?
Well, it was basically
I think what's really changed is that law enforcement officials here in the county now feel that we can be reasonably sure that people are returning to reason. And they don't think that the threat of violence hangs over the county today as it did last night.
So you're going to make sure all those school buses are running?
We certainly hope to. We expect to have them open and going tomorrow morning.
Do you feel confident about this decision?
I'm as confident as I can be, Bob. You know, you make a decision like this and you depend upon your own judgment, the judgment of many, many people. And I think collectively we genuinely feel that we can return to school.
The teachers are to be commended, we feel, for their professionality at this time. The English textbooks adoptions was a legal adoption by the Kanawha County Board of Education and as recommended by a professional committee. And in the face of unreasonable criticisms, accusations, and threats of personal injury, teachers have responded, we feel, with poise, decorum, and overriding concern for the students' welfare above their own. And it is our contention that the selection of textbooks and materials is rightfully a professional decision, and that teachers are the profession that is most intimately involved in the instructional program, and that they must continue having a major voice in the choice of textbooks.
What specific recommendation then do you have to the Board of Education?
Well, we as educational leaders cannot accept such an affront to the teachers of the county.
Reverend Grayley, what do you think about the judge saying that he couldn't believe you in his courtroom?
I hope that the judge will understand that I was very tired, and if people was watching up at the Board of Education at times, my mind would be blank, and I'd have to lay my head over on the truck to think a little bit. I hadn't had any sleep, and I did make a mistake in the year of this.
Where are you going now?
From here, I'm going home. Thing in this world for the night I spent in jail. They put me in the juvenile room with 4 juveniles. One colored boy was saved, and these other boys, I got to give them some wonderful counseling, and they said they'd never forget what I told them about God and to straighten their life up when they got out and make a man out of themselves. And it's been wonderful. That night in jail was worth $10,000 to me.
We urge that the members of the Board of Education, in selecting the agreed-upon review committee of the textbooks, appoint several teachers and at least one principal as a voting member in the spirit of academic freedom and professionalism.
The board made an agreement. They made an agreement with the people here in Kanawha County, and I certainly think they should honor it, and I hope they do. And some way or the other, I hope either the board is able to appoint people that will represent a viewpoint, or Mrs. Moore will do that within the next few hours.
Well, there are a number of alternates, and I don't know which the board would select, but one would be to operate without these people. I think that would reduce the viability of the committee and its effectiveness.
Could the board appoint 3 opponents of the textbook to the
I think
committee?
this is another alternate, and the board could conceivably appoint 3 people that have clearly stated their position as in opposition to the books and representing an extreme view, so that we would be attempting to be fair in getting good representation on the committee.
I think we can get on with our order of business. I'd like to introduce myself in case you do not know me. I'm F. Douglas Stump. I'm a member-elect to the Kanawha County Board of Education. And Mrs. Evelyn Harris who is the alternate for Mr. Anson. Now I'd like to read to you the charge of our elected school board for this committee. Requested that you as a committee try to report back in the interest of school and children involved within a 30-day time limit as of September 25th, 1974. However, you have the right to request your elected board to extend this until your job is done. This is your charge as a special committee in evaluating the language arts textbook adoption K through 12. The Kanawha County Board of Education has selected this special committee for the purpose of evaluating the recently adopted language textbooks K through 12. After your study, you are to submit your findings by opinion and recommendation back to the elected board. You have three types of reports that you may submit. A, unanimous. B, majority. 3, minority. Obviously, a unanimous report would be desired, but if not, both a majority and a minority report will be accepted.
To this group, they booed you. What makes you think they'll listen to you now?
Well, I don't think they were booing me. I didn't feel that I was being booed at all. I think they were booing the proposition, and they weren't happy with the proposition. But I hope that, well, for one thing, I don't think the boycott's very successful, and I know that a lot of people that went into it with indecision. An awful lot of parents didn't want to have to boycott, and yet they have honored the boycott. And other parents have felt that they couldn't boycott at this time with the books out, that it just wasn't advisable.
would stand up and bind together and stand up for the principles and ideals that the United States of America was founded on, you would find that the president and the governors would pin medals of honor on.
The result was that of the meetings that were held jointly between Kanawha County Schools and speakers for concerned citizens of Kanawha County. The meetings that were this morning and this afternoon, a proposal has been drafted that will be submitted to the Board of Education within about the next 17 hours. Within this period of time, the Marvin Horan and Kenneth Underwood hope that children will be back in school and that everyone will be back to work.
What was in that proposal?
The proposal, Dr. Underwood has a proposal, and also each of the 8 people who were in the meeting have copies of the proposal, and they're holding it.
It's not being released?
No, it's not.
Here's the rest of the agreement. Here's just the way it's laid out. All men will be reinstated without reprisal. Amen. And, of course, the books will be pulled out. This is what's going to bring us about. In all injunctions, and I'm going to shout for myself on this one. I got about 35 of them. And all the injunctions will be dropped. And the men will return to their jobs probably on the midnight shifts and tomorrow morning on the day shifts. And our children will go back to school, and I'm going to personally carry mine in.
You know, it's time we say something. We're tired. You know, the proponents of these textbooks are talking about anti-American, anti-Christian, anti-everything imaginable, as well as communistic. These are communistically inspired. What's happening here? I guess this is what's beginning to bother me. Our employees, parents, students, myself, and infringe upon other people's individual rights, their right to work, their right to send their children to school. This is getting beyond reason. We have students in school. We're convinced, in fact, we know that if our bus drivers weren't threatened, if our bus drivers could get the buses out of our bus terminals, we would have most of our students in school.
Greatest rate of absenteeism seems to be in the Upper Kanawha Valley area, the East Bank High School area, East Bank Junior High School, some of the feeder elementary schools in that area. DuPont High School, DuPont Junior High School, Midway Elementary School, Mary Ingalls Elementary School have a considerable number of students absent. In the Elkview area, Herbert Hoover area, the number of students present is about normal. The Dunbar area is right on our projections, the high school, the junior high, and the elementary schools. In the St. Albans area, it's kind of sporadic. Hayes Junior High School has a number of students absent. The high school only has 40 or 50 students out of 1,700 absent.
If this boycott continues, will the Board of Education tell the parents and the students that they are breaking the law, that they have to be in school?
Jim, that decision has not been made at this point because we really don't know what the full effects of the boycott are, and we won't know that until we have all the enrollment figures in for the day and in the next couple of days.
I believe our boycott today has been even more successful than what we anticipated on. I believe more than 50% of the children out of the schools, and hopefully we're going to gain more support as far as the children being out of schools as we progress with this.
Now, the Board of Education says their figures show about 20% are out, and they normally have an 8% absenteeism, so they're not putting too much behind the boycott.
We never have had the coverage from the news media that we deserve. We've always been undermined, but we've got the strength behind us. The masses is behind us, and I believe we're going to have victory over this thing.
Do you question the figures of the school board?
I do. I certainly do.
You met with Superintendent Underwood today. What did he tell you?
The avenues that we could take, if we didn't want our children exposed to this, we could go to the schools, we could give this information to the teachers, and the teachers couldn't expose our children to it. This is a lot of work on behalf of the parents, and it would be so much simpler, I think, just to take the book out of the school and put back in the old standard of teaching.
We don't have all the complete facts in yet, but we projected in grades 1 through 12 for this year 44,861 students. And it's kind of difficult at this point in time to give you the exact number that are in school today. However, we have about 40 schools still to report to us, and the absenteeism rate in the schools is running about 20%. Now, a normal absenteeism rate for Kanawha County schools in a day is 8%, and we figure we're running somewhere above 20% today.
We had a talk with him. We talked with him for about an hour in his office. We had some fruitful talks. I think we have gained some ground as far as finding a solution for the problem. However, I've got to get my people together tonight at the Midway Elementary School, and I've got to give my people the information that I got from Dr. Underwood, and then we'll have to decide from there what action we're going to take. And as far as I know now, the boycott is still on.
What information did he give you that might change your minds?
Well, he gave us some information on what we could do concerning the textbooks and what we could do concerning the supplementary books.
What is that?
These texts reflect and generate an open state of mind, one open to children, to ideas, and to an appreciation of the wide range of possibilities for the continuing improvement of teaching. We implore the Board of Education to realize that the future of Kanawha County students is now. Thank you.
The elementary teacher has the right to put in a child's mind doubts about whether or not, or if there is a God.
I believe that any teacher has the right to explain the challenge of thinking.
The undersigned citizens and taxpayers of Kanawha County in the state of West Virginia hereby petition the Board of Education to deny the use of certain textbooks in the schools of this county. More specifically, it is requested that any textbooks, periodicals, pamphlets, or other instructional materials be prohibited which demean, encourage skepticism, or foster disbelief in the institutions of the United States of America and in Western civilization. I have copies of this petition bearing the signatures of 4,600 citizens of Kanawha County.
It looks like to me that the committee can't function at this point. The only thing I can do now, Jim, is go back to the 5 elected board members tomorrow and call upon them to resolve this problem. Jim, I tried. It's rather difficult to be effective if you can't vote, and that's the position I am in right now until January the 1st. I just simply have tried my very best to bring 2 extreme divisions together in this county, and now I'm going to have to wait, I assume, until I'm legally appointed at January the 1st or until Mr. Anson possibly resigns, and then I can vote. 45,000 children are suffering from this, and I have to call right now on the school administrators to come out of their vacuum and solve our problem.
I don't want to, and I don't think I will, shut down the schools in the rest of the county. The rest of the county is operating normally, and I can't see why we should deprive, 35,000 youngsters out of an education because we have one area that seems to believe that the only way to satisfy anyone is to have it exactly their own way.
Our people are standing up again to preserve what little bit of sanity in society that we have left. But now these people are pinning medals of dishonor on them. And I believe it's all plain to see through Reverend Grayley and these 3 women that are in jail now. They were standing for what was right.
There should be some long-range solution to this. Do you have any ideas?
What I meant was I think that we need to have a permanent solution to it. When I meant a long-range solution, I meant that we shouldn't come up with a solution that I might approve in October, which would be reversed in January. Well, I felt that this was perhaps the most effective thing that I could do in trying to cool off this present controversy and perhaps hope to get a resolution of it. I think one of the things that had seemed to always be rearing itself was the question of what would be happening on January 1st, and I felt that any decision that was made prior to that time that might be revoked on January 1st would not be in the best interest of the school system. So I felt that therefore that I should step down at this point and allow Mr. Stump to take over. In other words, today is January 1.
going to be a success, and we've been, up to this point, we've been 100% successful. You can see that our buses, the county school buses, are running empty, while ours is completely loaded, and people's taking advantage of these facilities at the churches.
Do you think, how many children do you think will be in Kanawha County Christian schools?
I would expect at least 50% of the children, probably all of them in the upper Kanawha Valley.
Flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands.
We felt that our children needed more than what the Kanawha County Board of Education is offering, especially with the books which are in objection at this time. We want to see to it that our children are taught to believe in God and hold the truths that we hold in high esteem. We want them to go along with these truths also.
I was looking at some of your books. Basically, you're going to teach reading, writing, and arithmetic.
Right, that's right.
What do you think of going to school here? Do you like the idea?
Yes, it's very good, and it's a lot better than the regular public schools, I think.
Why?
It's not as filthy as, and the books that are in aren't any good.
What about you?
Well, I like it here. You know, just same. It's kind of fun, and you get to be with your friends in every room, and they can't put the books ain't here in the churches, so so we won't get to read them or anything.
What about you? How do you like going to school here?
I like going. It's nice, and you get to meet all your friends, and you know most of the teachers, and you like the teachers better than the other ones.
What about you? What do you think about going to school here?
I think it's better than other school.
Why?
Because we don't learn filthy books.
Do you expect that the board will be signing a great number of truancy petitions?
No, it doesn't look that way right at the present time anyway. In fact, I doubt if we're serving any more than we had served at this time last year.
Why is that? Are your social workers finding that most kids are in some kind of school?
Yes, according to the information I received from the coordinator or social worker, that most students now in Kanawha County schools are either going back to the public schools or entering a private school.
And when you say the rate of truancy is about the same as last year, that would be what you would consider normal?
The truancy may be up a little now in certain areas of the county, but it may be a little over normal, but not much over normal, not to what we had probably even anticipated that it would be.
A couple of weeks ago, there were several hundred people at the courthouse demanding to be arrested. Do you expect to serve several hundred truancy warrants?
Oh, no. We expect to do some social work, and this is what we're doing right at the present time, and we're finding that students are going back to school.
Are you here to make a decision, a judgment on these books?
No, we're not here to make a specific judgment about the books.
And then what do you really hope to accomplish?
We hope that we can make some determinations that will be helpful not only in this school system but in other school systems to determine who plays what role in the selection of textbooks and curriculum, and also to determine to what extent community criticism is legitimate and to what extent it's educationally destructive.
We told them when we were up there that they'd sit back in their big white monsters for 20 years and was how the pulse beat the nation. That the people didn't need them, didn't need NEA, and we didn't need them. We just wanted our schools back to our children, that's all. And we didn't feel that NEA was in any position to be a negotiator for us. As far as they was concerned, they're our adversary.
Why do you think they're here?
Well, I really don't know why they're here. I don't see any point in being here, really, because there's nothing here that they're going to be able to solve as far as the people of Kanawha County is concerned. We want our schools back, and we're going to get them back.
If I were to be as unresponsive as to the people who work in my plant as the board is to the people in the community, they'd put me out of business in no time. I think leadership implies that
it is not the purpose of this committee to make a value judgment on whether those books are good or bad, whether they should or should not be in the school. We are more concerned with what has occurred here. We share and hope you have the same concerns. And that by sharing our concerns and by having a dialogue and exchange between all of the parties, and by looking at what we think are the central issues, we might begin to look at suggesting remedies, not to decide which textbook should be in the school, but rather what process and how we might involve all of the concerned parties, parents, children, administrators, school educators, boards of education, legislators, etc., in that process, because it is apparent, and this is not to make a judgment of the conflict here, but the fact that you have had the kind of conflict would tend to indicate that there's a breakdown in the system someplace.
The last private meeting that we had, Reverend Gray, myself, and along with other people of our group, with the Board of Education, we brought this to their attention, and they respond to us that we have a few children in our private schools that are ignorant, and they need private attention. Now, this is the way they respond to the need of our community. Our children are not ignorant.
Vote on it next week, anytime you want to, and if the majority wants the books, we'll never march again. If the majority does not want the books, then we want the books kicked out. So
the leader must sense the feeling of the community or the people that he attempts to lead, and he must put forth programs which are acceptable to the overwhelming majority and not violently opposed by any substantial minority. And I realize this is a tough proposition, but that's the price of leadership. And I think it's a question, if they can't stand the heat, they ought to resign and find someone, let somebody else come in who can demonstrate that kind of leadership.